The first cry of Temba came with the roar of a storm. The African sky was ablaze with lightning, slashing through clouds like the tusks of gods. Rain pounded the plains in furious sheets, turning dust into rivers and rivers into raging torrents. Beneath the hulking shadow of an ancient baobab tree, life fought its way into the world. Sefu, a proud matriarch of the great herd, stood trembling but defiant as the contractions gripped her. Around her, the herd formed a living fortress, a wall of wrinkled giants, shielding her from the eyes that gleamed in the darkness. Hyenas slunk in the tall grass, their laughter cruel and eager. Lions crouched low, their muscles coiled like springs, waiting for weakness. But no predator dared break the circle, not when 30 elephants stood shoulder to shoulder, their tusks like ivory spears, their trunks raised in challenge. A calf slid into the mud with a soft thud, his skin slick, his body small and trembling.
Ow.
He tried to breathe, choking on the wet air, until Sefu's trunk curled around him, lifting him to life. Her rumble vibrated through the storm, a deep, ancient note of love. The calf wobbled, his legs folded, bent, then locked. Slowly, shakily, he stood. The herd rumbled as one, a chorus of joy rolling across the savanna. "Temba," she whispered in a breath older than words. "Hope." And so began the journey of one who would become legend. Morning spilled gold across the endless plains. The storm had passed, leaving the world scrubbed clean. Birds burst from the trees in clouds of color, and the air was alive with the hum of life. For Temba, the days were a dream. Every shadow hid a secret, every sound a story. His trunk explored everything, lifting stones, tracing leaves, splashing water. The herd was his family, his world. Gentle giants who moved as one, led by the wisdom of Sefu. Life was rules. Water is life. Find it. Follow it. Remember it. The herd is strength. Alone is death. Memory never fades. The land forgets nothing. He learned quickly, growing stronger under his mother's watchful eye. At night, he curled beneath her belly, safe beneath a ceiling of stars. But the wild does not forgive curiosity. One day, while playing near the river, Temba wandered too far. The water was cool on his tongue when the reeds shivered. 2 golden eyes blinked, then a flash of teeth. A crocodile exploded from the depths, jaws snapping like iron gates. Temba squealed, stumbling backward as those teeth closed on empty air. Before the beast could lunge again, Sefu was their thunder on 4 legs. She tore Temba from the river's grip, her trunk wrapping him like a rope, and brought her foot down on the reptile's skull with a force that cracked bone. The water churned red. The croc slid back into the depths, broken and beaten. That night, pressed close to his mother's side, Temba learned his first truth: the wild has no mercy. Years passed, Temba grew. His tusks, once tiny buds, curved like the crescent moon. His frame swelled with muscle, his ears flared like sails. He was no longer a calf, but a young bull with strength in his stride and fire in his blood. And then the rains failed. The world turned to dust. Rivers withered to scars. Grass crackled underfoot like dry bones. The sky was a pitiless blue, and the sun hammered the earth without mercy. The herd marched for days, weeks across, a wasteland of thirst. Calves collapsed in the heat, their cries weak as whispers. Lions grew bold, circling like vultures, for even giants falter when the land is dying. Sefu led them with unyielding grace. Her memory, a map of waterholes hidden in the bones of the earth. But even her wisdom could not conjure rain. One evening, as the sun bled into the horizon, Sefu slowed. Her steps grew heavy. Temba pressed against her, rumbling low in fear. But she only touched his cheek with her trunk, her eyes deep and endless as the stars. That night, beneath a sky cold and clear, Sefu lay down and did not rise. The herd stood around her, their rumbles soft with grief. Temba pressed his forehead to hers, his heart breaking like dry earth. When the dawn came, he lifted his head and roared a sound that rolled across the savanna like thunder. The great herd turned to him, and for the first time, Temba led. Seasons passed. Temba grew into a titan. His tusks swept down in gleaming arcs. His shoulders loomed like hills. He could uproot trees with a single wrench of his trunk, scatter lions with a charge, split the earth with his weight, but with power came challenge. Other bulls came for him young, hungry, proud. They came with trumpets and fury, their tusks clashing like swords. The battles shook the ground, left scars in the soil. But Temba fought with the strength of blood and memory, and one by one they fell. He became a name whispered on the wind, a shadow that made predators slink away, a king crowned not by birth, but by the law of strength. Yet the greatest enemy did not come from the grass, came from the smoke of guns. The first shot came at dusk, a crack like lightning, and Baruth, the old bull, the storyteller, collapsed with a scream that tore the sky. The herd scattered in terror as trucks roared through the dust, and men spilled out with rifles gleaming like fangs. Temba charged. His feet thundered, his tusks flashed white in the setting sun. Bullets ripped the air, tearing his flesh, but he did not stop.
Ow.
He hit the first truck like a storm, splintering wood and steel, hurling men like broken dolls. Blood matted his flank, but his eyes burned like fire. He would not run. He would not yield.
At.
The poachers fled that night, leaving their dead behind. But they would return with more guns, more death. Temba knew. The greatest threat to the giants was not drought, not lions, not time. It was man. It began with the river. The rains had come at last, but too late, too little. The herd needed water crossing to reach the green lands beyond. But the river was deep, swollen with floods, and the far bank crawled with men. Night fell like ink as Temba led them to the edge. The water boiled with crocodiles. Thunder growled in the distance. The air reeked of smoke. Then came the lights' white spears stabbing through the dark. Engines roared. Voices shouted. Guns glittered like stars of death. The poachers had come. The first bullet struck a cow, dropping her in the mud. Calves screamed. Chaos erupted. Temba charged. His trumpet split the night, a blast of fury that shook the earth. He hit the line of men like a hammer of gods, tusks sweeping, trunk crushing. Trucks toppled, guns shattered. Blood sprayed across the grass. They shot him again, and again fire, ripping his flesh, tearing muscle, painting his gray skin in crimson. But still he fought. For every bullet, a man fell. For every wound, another life was saved. At last, silence. The survivors fled into the dark. Temba stood swaying, the river roaring at his feet. The herd huddled behind him. His breath came in ragged thunder. Blood streamed down his legs. His great head drooped, tusks gleaming one last time in the moonlight. He turned to the herd, his family, his legacy, and rumbled low, a sound that was love and farewell. Then he stepped into the water and was gone. Dawn broke over the plains, painting the world in fire and gold. The herd stood on the far bank, their trunks raised to the wind. Somewhere in the depths, the river carried a giant. They would remember. And in the years to come, when calves gathered in the shade and asked of the old days, they would hear his name whispered like thunder on the wind. Temba, born wild, made a legend. The last giant,